guys, so last Friday I ended up rewatching The Greatest Showman and fell in love with that movie, and then I found The Greatest Showman book tag by Waverley Reeves, who I will leave a link to down below in the description, and I fell in love with the tag and really badly wanted to do it, so I thought I'd do it for the Strike Back Videothon, and so without further ado I'm just going to get right into it and do The Greatest Showman book tag. Question number 1 is The Greatest Showman, a book that started off amazing but flopped towards the end, and Nemesis by Brandon Reichs is the only answer I can give to this, because the first third to half of it was so good. You had a character with anxiety, which personally for me I thought was very good representation. You had a female main character who was not exactly totally in charge of her own destiny, but she was very much a badass who wanted to get the answers to everything, and she didn't take no for an answer with these things, and so many other things, and it was such an interesting book with such an interesting concept, and the mystery towards it was so good. But then once we got to like the climax of it and then the explanation of everything, it just sort of went quite downhill quite quickly. I found that the ending in the end was not very satisfying. I found that the conclusion had a hell of a lot of plot holes in it, and I didn't understand why any of this had happened, because the explanation as to why everything was going on made no sense, and there was like a skin thin like explanation of it, and the character who had anxiety suddenly lost the anxiety and became a bit of a psychopath in the end, because they'd finally got an explanation as to why everything had happened to him. And for me it just didn't really work, I'm afraid. It just didn't work for me whatsoever, and I now find that book to be my nemesis, essentially. Nemesis is my nemesis. Question number 2 is A Million Dreams, a book that's set in an amazing, beautiful and creative world. And for this I've said The Monsters of Verity by V.E. Schwab, because I was immediately brought into this world and I immediately felt like I understood what was going on within the first few pages. It was so well thought out, and even though the world is incredibly violent and filled with monsters and things like this, it felt not exactly beautiful to me, but the way the world worked and everything was just absolutely brilliant, and I thought it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. Question number 3 is A Million Dreams Reprise, which is a short and adorable book. For me, this is the Doctor Strange mini comic. There's quite a few of these ones, but this specific one is a bit of a wrap up with 5 mini stories in it that really helps explain what Doctor Strange does as a consulting superhero. So he has characters come in like Iron Fist and Spider-Man in one story, you get the Hulk in another one, you have Foggy Nelson in another one, and you just get all these little characters come in, and you can see in this comic how he helps other heroes solve their problems, or calls other heroes in to help solve mystical problems. And I thought it was really, really good, and it was really short and really sweet, and I loved how he interacted with the other characters and stuff. Question number 4 is Come Alive, a book you heard bad things about but you really enjoyed in the end. For this I've said The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time, and because I'd heard quite a lot of mixed things about this book, because some people said it was really, really good autism representation and others absolutely hated it. It's a bit like a Marmite book, to be honest, and I was definitely one of the ones that absolutely loved it, because I thought the representation was really good and how it was all explained through the main character's point of view and how he wasn't getting it, like what was going on and things like that. But then when you add that to the stage show, which I also saw because I love the book so much, it really sort of tied it together so well for me, and like the stagecraft and everything of the show was absolutely beautiful and stuff. And while the book stands alone brilliantly, the stage show just really sort of brought it together for me and made it like so much more loved in my mind. It was so good. I'd highly recommend it. Question number 5 is The Other Side, a fandom that dragged you in despite your reluctance to join it. For me, this isn't a bookish answer because I haven't really been dragged into any bookish fandoms yet. I've more just really, really loved fandoms, and I haven't really been any like that. I haven't really been like reluctant to join any. But for this I'm going to say Stranger Things, because while I really, really wanted to get into it and watch it, I hadn't really sort of wanted to get really into the fandom or anything, because I've mainly seen all the spoilers for practically every single episode by the time I got around to watching it. But I am totally in love with it now. I watched it very, very recently, and I binged the entire thing in like 2 weeks, which is quite slow for me actually, but yeah, it was so good. I'm now fully fledged part of the fandom. I absolutely love and adore it, essentially. So, it's Stranger Things. It's not a book, but I'm counting it. Question number 6 is Never Enough, a book series that's finished but you just want more of. For that, Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab, hands down. I absolutely adored this series. I went through it so quickly and I could not get enough of it. It was so good. And when I found out that there's actually going to be a spin-off called The Threads of Power, which Kel, Lila and Alucard and Rye all turn up in, I was so excited I literally screamed. I was so happy because I was so sad that I'd left that world behind. And I'd lost, Red London and things, and I really wanted to go back there. So to know that we're now going to, Red London's New York and things, I'm so excited to find out more about this world and other people in this world, and to read more about Kel and Lila and Rye and Alucard. Question number 7 is This Is Me, a book you loved but everyone else hated. For me, I'm going to say The Messenger of Fear, just the first one, which is by Michael Grant. I loved the first one so much. I really didn't like the second one, but the first one I absolutely loved. But I then highly recommended it to my mum, who loves Michael Grant's Gone Lies Hunger series, and she absolutely hated it. So it was very, very odd, because usually when I really like a book and I recommend it to her, she really, really likes it, but for this one, she absolutely hated it and refuses to read the sequel, whereas I really love the first one but hate the sequel. Question number 8 is Rewrite the Stars, an OTP you just want to kiss already. Luckily, all of my book OTPs so far have already kissed, so I'm very, very happy with that. But I'm going to say Crowley and Aziraphale from Good Omens for this though, because even though they're only friends in the book, and it's very, very clear that they are friends, you never find out if either of them actually have a sexuality or if they're even interested in that kind of thing. And it's never really sort of gone into. I'd really like to see how they'd work as a couple, because Crowley is the snake from the Garden of Eden and a demon who now drives a Bentley and is obsessed with the Bentley. But Aziraphale is an angel who loves books, which makes me love him, and is very quite uptight about things, but Crowley's all about letting go. But they're still best friends. They're absolute best friends ever. And to see how those two work as friends, I'd love to see how they work as a couple, because just to see how that sort of semi-evil and very uptight angel would work together like that. It doesn't even have to be like a sexual relationship, but just to sort of see how that would work just really, really fascinates me. Question number 9 is Tightrope, a book you knew nothing about but took the risk anyway. For this, I'm going to say Edward St. Albin's Melrose series, because I just finished that recently, last week, and I knew nothing going in. All I knew was from what I'd seen of the trailers of the TV adaptation to it, and that's why I read it, because my favourite actor's in it. And so that's why I read it in the end. And I had no idea going into this what it was going to be about. I knew nothing apart from the fact that Melrose was a very, very mentally ill human being with addiction problems for drugs and alcohol and severe issues stemming from his childhood. I knew nothing else apart from that. And it was a very, very interesting read. I'd say that I liked half of it. Some of the first book I didn't really like, and some of the others gave me a bit of a complex. But it was a very interesting read, and I would say it was a very nice experiment to read. I'm not sure if I'd read anything else in that sort of genre, but I must say I did quite enjoy it. Question number 10 is Never Enough Reprise, a book that broke your heart. And for this I'm going to say A Series of Unfortunate Events, because while I don't read that many sad books, I'd say A Series of Unfortunate Events is probably one of the saddest. It really breaks my heart to see everything that the Baudelaire children have gone through, because they've gone through so much, and even though they've gone through all of this, the adults still never believe them. No matter what they say, the adults still never believe anything that they say, and only ever believe them when it's far too late already, and they've basically lost everything, and they just seem to be keeping on losing more, and that really sort of breaks my heart, considering Violet is only 12, you know? It really sort of saddens me a bit. Question number 11 is From Now On. A book you loved for the hype but really wasn't that great. And for me, please don't kill me, but I'm going to say The Night Circus, because I found that I really got swept up in all of like the prose of it and how sort of lyrical it was and all the explanations for everything, but the storyline itself just really didn't interest me. And I sort of hyped it up when I reviewed it, saying that it was absolutely amazing and I thoroughly loved it, but in the end I didn't really sort of like the story. It was just the way it was written that I really enjoyed. The rest of it I could have taken or left, because I found that nothing really happened, and I wanted, because I went into it thinking that there was going to be a magic battle, and there wasn't a magic battle, which bugged me because I really badly wanted a magic battle, and instead I got a love story, and that kind of bugs me when I go in thinking there's going to be a war and instead I get love, which is probably a pessimistic way of looking at things, but that's just how I am, and I just didn't really enjoy the actual storyline of it. It was just the way it was written that I sort of liked in the end. Question number 12 is The Greatest Show, the finale, a book that had the greatest ending, and for this I'm going to say The Monstrous Child, because The Monstrous Child is all about Loki's daughter Hela and how she's been mistreated her entire life and ostracised and has never felt loved or anything, but the ending gave her so much hope. It was beautiful. I loved seeing her have so much hope towards the future and to see how everything may be turning out okay for her in the end, and I absolutely adored that about this book. I absolutely, totally and utterly loved how it just gave her so much hope at the end there that maybe she could have a happy life, which was wonderful, and I thoroughly loved it about that ending. It was such a good ending, especially to read just before I went into Thor Ragnarok last year. So that was the greatest ending for me, especially for that book, because it gave so much hope to Hela. And that's the end of the tag, and I hope you enjoyed this video. There's also another tag for The Greatest Showman by Jazzy's Book Fridge, which I will leave a link to down below if you want to check that one out, in case these questions weren't anything that you could answer, but you still want to do a Greatest Showman book tag. Maybe that one will give you more from it. As for who I'm tagging, I'm going to tag G Swizz, because I know she absolutely loves The Greatest Showman, and she's the one who has created the Strike Back video-a-thon, so this may give her an idea for what to do for one of the prompts or one of the days she's not sure on, or anything like that. And she just recently subscribed to me, so thank you. And I'm also going to tag Gab About Books. I'm also going to tag Carol, who is a book between worlds, because she also really wants to do the Greatest Showman book tag. And essentially, if I've tagged you and you don't want to do it, then just ignore me, that's fine. But if I haven't tagged you, but you are a small channel who really loves The Greatest Showman, consider yourself tagged. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up, and if you want to give me any of your answers or tell me that you're doing this tag or anything like that, please tell me down below in the comments. I will also leave the link in the description to all of my social media if you want to check any of those out, including my blog where I review books quite a lot. And if you want to see any more of my videos, including the Strike Back Videoathon stuff or any of the other stuff I do, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time, guys, bye!